and welcome to this roundtable for FashionUK with Bectu. I'm your host, fashion editor and writer, Dominic Cadogan, they, them, and I'm joined by such an incredible panel of guests today who I'm going to let introduce themselves, starting with you, Nicky.
Hello, I am Nicky Weir, and I'm a makeup artist, and I'm a she, and I'm deaf.
My name is Bisoye Babalola. I'm the founder of Holiday Club, and my pronouns are she, her.
Philippa Childs, I am the head of Bectu.
I'm Caroline Rush. I'm Chief Executive at the British Fashion Council, and my pronouns are she, her.
I'm Sam McKnight, hairdresser. It's lovely to be here with everyone today.
I'm Anita Chhiba, the founder of Diet Paratha, and my pronouns are she, her.
Amazing. Well, we're here today following the State of the Sector report. Philippa, I wonder if you could tell us a bit more about the report and also the genesis of FashionUK.
Let me tell you a bit about Bectu to start with. Bectu is the trade union for people who work behind the camera, behind the stage, and behind the catwalk in this example. And we are a union of around about 40,000 people. Around more than half of them now are freelancers. And I think the wonderful Michael Miller approached us about trying to unionize fashion, particularly it's starting with stylists, which is what Michael does, as you know. And we started to talk about how we could form a branch and how we can support UK fashion. And then it really grew from there. There was a great piece, I don't know if you saw it, in Vogue Business about unionising fashion that Michael was involved in. And now UK fashion involves more than just stylists, but also hair and makeup artists, nail technicians. And, we really hope to grow the branch so that it can have maximum impact. The more members we have, the stronger the branch will be, and hopefully the more effective it will be in really making its impact and changing fashion for the better.
Well, I wanted to read a quote from one of the participants. I've had shoes thrown at me, been told certain expenses will be covered, and then had the client refuse to pay them. I had clients claim to follow APA, but refuse to cover travel expenses for an 11-plus hour day of work. Clients stop booking me if I start to charge interest on late payments. 16-hour days during London Fashion Week for as little as £100. Now, obviously, stories like this are common, familiar to all of us, but I wondered if anybody had any thoughts or wanted to share any similar experiences that they've had of working in this industry.
My first job was actually to do hair in a hair salon. I then go into makeup industry. That first year was hell. It was absolutely awful. But I said to myself, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it. I'm not going to let my being deaf stop me. I want to show myself I can do it. Then I did makeup. Then I tried to get into the industry. But I started off, because of my bad experience, I would tell people I'm deaf because I was scared that I wouldn't be given the opportunity. But then I made it worse for myself because people were talking to me and I don't understand it. Then I just give them a wrong answer and then they would look at me in a funny way and I just think to myself, oh no, I'm misunderstood. And so I was constantly trying to navigate a way how I could get through into the industry. Do I tell them I'm deaf? Okay, but maybe not. Do I? And it took years to kind of get to a point where I was saying, okay, just to let you know I'm deaf, just look at me when you talk to me.
Bisoye Holiday Club is obviously helping young creatives enter the fashion industry and the creative industry. What is the feedback that you're getting from people who have been a part of Holiday Club and are now finding roles within the industry? What their experience is like?
I think it's a very mixed experience. I mean, some of them are really experienced in where they feel like they're not able to progress and they don't know how to progress. Others of them are unsure about what they should be expecting from paid, what to charge, what are the fees that you're supposed to be looking at as a freelancer. So that's one of the conversations that we're having. And then I think ultimately a lot of them are scared about what to expect as well as they progress through the industry and how they should be progressing and whether to be freelance or to work full time. All those are ongoing conversations that we're having around that.
Mm-hmm. What do you think having a union like Bectu and FashionUK would be like to support people who don't know the answers to those questions?
I think it would be amazing because ultimately then you're able to get those questions and you feel more supported in the work that you're doing. So I think it would be amazing to be able to provide that opportunity for a lot more people coming into the industry.
There is an issue, isn't there, about how inclusive the industry is and whether or not actually people can afford to work for free. We know the creative industries, there are real challenges around getting people from working class backgrounds into the industries. And part of that is about people's ability to sustain themselves when they're starting out. And if you simply can't sustain yourself because you don't have parents or family to support you, then I think, being paid is therefore really important, because otherwise people fall by the wayside and can't continue. And we end up with industries that are very, middle class and people who can actually afford to be part of the industry.
There just has to be fundamentals
Yes.
that they get paid.
Yeah.
And I think, particularly for the bigger brands, is that, there is fair payment. And if they want incredible talent, then they pay for the talent. And there needs to be a really clear path through for talent, that you come in at an entry fee, like you would do if you go into a business, you go in at an entry salary. But there is a ladder up. Otherwise, we're not going to be attracting the best talent into our industry. And it will become, a much worse off industry for that. And I think that works actually in all different areas of the fashion industry. There has to be a respect, an ecosystem that says, okay, when you can afford to, you create these incredible aspirational opportunities, but everybody gets paid all the way through.
Completely agree. I find it confusing when smaller businesses, I guess like mine and like others that exist like mine, will pay interns, and then you have larger businesses that won't. You guys are taking the biggest cut of the pie in terms of the budgets that these brands and these people that are giving this money out. Well, where is that going?
This is by a set design assistant who says, I have no pension, no assets, very little savings, no job security for years, and the stress of that. And now I have a physical issue that means I can't do it anymore. I've worked so hard, gone above and beyond, and for what? And I feel like this actually touches on a lot of the things that we've been talking about. You were saying that taking free work or taking opportunities that you feel may lead to something. When do you say enough is enough? When do you say, actually, I've done loads of free things that I think are going to open up the doors and it just isn't working out for me? So how do you know? How do you strike the right balance between taking opportunities for free that you think are going to lead to something and then putting your foot down and saying, actually, no, I demand to be paid for the work that I'm doing?
Now the turnover is so fast, and the new people coming in doing free work, it's like an amazing new coal seam out there to plunder. So there's that constant supply, and the money jobs get less and less and less because a lot of the big brands are now lowering their rates and sometimes not asking you to do things for free or next to nothing, which I find quite shocking. And I love to help young designers out and not charge them, and I'm in a position to do that, and I've always done that. I make sure the team gets paid. I don't care about myself. For young designers, not for the established big companies. So there's too many grey areas, I think, and that all goes back to the abuse of our creative, sort of wanting a creative expression, if you like, because that's our creative expression. But if I do think there needs to be some kind of rule about payment. I don't think anybody should be working for free at all anymore, because I think even the big publications, they have got money coming in. Even if it's on social media, it's coming in a different way. And I don't think anyone's asking for ridiculous amounts of money, but I think somebody that covers their expenses, and you feel respected and appreciated. And I think that will stop the element of abuse. Sorry, I'm rabbiting on now.
I actually have another quote from the report here from a makeup artist / assistant. They say, working on Fashion Week is absolutely ridiculous. You pay to go to places, and agencies can cancel you hours before the show without any repercussion. A lot of artists get penciled in for the same show and released last minute. We invest time and money to be able to be in different cities. Obviously, Fashion Week in itself is a completely separate beast. But Caroline, I wondered if you could maybe speak about some of the other things that you've implemented to, I guess, trying to avoid things like this, specifically at London Fashion Week.
Well, to be honest, is that we very much focused on the models, and that's because our membership are designers, and the model agencies came together as the BFMA and came to us to say, actually, what could we do to really think about, late night fittings, transport late at night, fit to confirm kind of rates. And that was really helpful for us because we had one body to talk to about a whole segmented individuals and independents. And so we were able to then put that into contracts that we have with the designers that are part of Fashion Week. And I know in the report you've mentioned CISA, and actually the work that's come through that is, I think, will be really valid with Bectu and CISA to think about what that looks like for fashion. And for those that don't know, it's something that actually came through Creative UK, wasn't it? It was raised by an individual in the music industry. And there'd already been lots of conversations about bullying and harassment. I'm not avoiding Fashion Week, I'll come back.
No, of course.
But the idea that there is a body that could come together to help put best practice in place that is relevant across the creative industries would be really helpful, I think. And so the pilot that's set up at the moment is very much around film, television, music, and then gaming and fashion will follow on. The slight challenges that we have, we also have retail, so there's sort of the retail element that we need to build into it. But there'll be some really good principles for the setup there that will create a brilliant environment, I think, for broader creatives to be able to come and engage. Because for us, we started the conversations with them. We were like, well, actually, we know who you are and we've got your details, but we don't have the details, all of the hair and makeup artists and stylists and photographers and all of the assistants to go where the agents might have that, but we don't. So there does need to be someone where people can come together and engage, and we can testify to the value of that because of the way the model agencies came together and were able to have a really strong dialogue with us about what's happening at Fashion Week and how we put things like model lounges in place, so there's a great place for the models to go between shows if they're not going back to back, where they can have food and drink, that there's food and drink backstage at shows. All those things we're able to put in place. So we are very interested to understand how that can then come into play from a Fashion Week perspective.
I've been in shows
Yeah.
where there's a big sign up saying food and drink for models only.
Really?
Yeah. So the hair and makeup people were told off. Meanwhile, they've done 4 or 5 shows in a day, probably more than the models, and it's that kind of thing that it's.
That doesn't make any sense to us.
Well, it does find out. I get it's there's really low budget, and but they have to feed the models because there's a rule.
Because there's something.
But there's no rule in place to.
Yeah.
Just following on from your comment about CISA, so for those who don't know, that's the Creative Industries Independent Standards Authority, which, as you said, is being sort of has been developed through conversations within Creative UK. I think what's really exciting about that is that it is a collaborative piece of work. There are unions involved, industry bodies involved, and as you described, it's meant to be for the entire creative industries, where we know there is this challenge of bullying and sexual harassment. And actually, just coincidentally, because Bectu has a sexual harassment support service as well, which we've set up in the last 6 months or so. Yesterday, I happened to be speaking to someone from the fashion industry who had been in contact with us about, sexual harassment that they had experienced. That was someone who was working in a fashion house. They were an employee. But going back to what you were saying earlier, Sam, that some of the challenges to addressing these behaviours are because we're talking about very senior people who either are involved or aren't taking the necessary action to demonstrate the next absolute no tolerance of these sorts of behaviours. So I think CISA will be a really good development. The government are actually talking about potentially putting some governance behind that to make sure that it actually happens, to make sure industries pay. And I think that'll be really important, because definitely creatives need somewhere to go that they can report these elements of bad behaviour and get the support they need.
And obviously the sector report is helping to spread awareness about FashionUK and Bectu. That's obviously just the foundation, the first building block. What are your hopes now from the findings of the report?
What's really interesting to me, what jumps out to me, are all of the challenges that people working in fashion are facing are very similar to the challenges that we see elsewhere for freelancers. Long hours, bullying and harassment, not being paid or late payments, all of those things we see as themes across the creative industry. Yeah, well, obviously we want to talk to industry partners about how we can address some of those issues. And some of those things will be done across the creative industries. One of the bits of that in the agenda is around for how to better support the freelance workforce. And so there are some things that I think we can do across the creative industries. There are some things I think that we can do specifically with fashion to put in the building blocks to support freelancers better, to make sure that they have a better time at work and that we stamp out some of the practices that we don't want to see in 2025, I guess.
Mm-hmm. What kind of benefits could people who are freelance or working for themselves see from becoming a part of FashionUK?
There are obviously individual positives from being part of the union. So if you have a problem at work, you can get advice. If you've suffered bullying and harassment at work, you can call our helpline. But I think also collectively, there's things that UK fashion can achieve. So lots of our craft branches who work in film and TV have rate cards. So that, potentially that's something that the branch can think about whether or not to support the people that you're talking about, to actually come up with, well, what is a fair rate when you're starting out? What's a mid rate? What rate should people be charging? So there is a discussion about what the industry norms are and those sorts of things, but also campaigning, trying to lobby government about changes that we want to see as well. So there are many ways that the branch is going to be able to help people individually, but also collectively.
Mm-hmm. It's a very big undertaking. Obviously, as we know, we've been discussing the realities of working in the industry today, how it's changed historically. What do you think are maybe some of the starting points or the solutions that we can offer immediately to kind of help people who are struggling?
I definitely think initially just having a collective voice is really important. And FashionUK, we've got some really great, enthusiastic, energised people involved in FashionUK, and they really want to make a difference. And so I think just getting the message out there that you can have a collective voice, that there is somewhere where you can go when you've got a problem at work. So you may not know who to complain to initially, but the union can help you with that. And the union can support you if you're going through a rough time for whatever reason at work, can advise you on employment law, can advise you on your rights. So I would definitely encourage people to become part of FashionUK.
Something that's been a conversation point for us is around access. I think a lot of people are scared, well, not scared, but are fearful that it's really about how big your platform is as an individual, how many followers do you have, or if it's not about how many followers do you have, it's about who do you know as opposed to what do you know. And I know that a lot of the industry does rely on that, but I think a solution that could be discussed is how do we share jobs more equally, that everybody has the opportunity to access some of these jobs or projects where a lot of it is relationship-based.
So I'm going to select another quote from the State of the Sector report. This is from a celebrity stylist who said, "I would like to see things more regulated and standardized. Nothing is written down and clearly explained. Many workers get trapped in a corner because of this. There are things like contracts, terms, or invoices that many freelancers do not know how to do. And if we had something that explains how it works, that would be incredibly helpful," which Philippa believes that's something FashionUK is currently already working on.
Indeed, the branch are currently pulling together a guide to good best practice for stylists initially, and then we'll move on to do a similar thing for others. But that will really support people in terms of, when they're contracting for a piece of work, they can clearly see what should be in a contract, and they can make sure that when they sign on the dotted line that all of the things that they want to see around payment terms and all of those sorts of things are included within their contract.
People currently working in the industry, how do you think that would have an impact on some of the issues that we've discussed earlier? Maybe Sam, some of the assistants or people who are working for you.
I think not just assistants. I think that, I've been very keen to get to see something like this for many years. I've been really vocal about it, and I find all this incredibly exciting because we're painting a really dark black picture here sometimes. In fact, it's the most fantastic industry that it can be incredibly great fun, incredibly lucrative. It is hard work. We need some rules. We need some structure. For simple things like hair and makeup people. We don't turn up, empty-handed. There's a studio comes with us, and there needs to be transport paid for. There shouldn't be young people should not be expected to do stuff for a minimal wage and expect to pay for their own transport. It's things like that. Being fed, having half an hour at least for lunch. Things that people take for granted in other business don't exist here. There are no rules. It's the Wild West. It's the Wild West, and it needs to have a structure and protection, and just those ground rules,
So just to your point, because I agree with you, but I also wonder about the financial sides of this, because you mentioned earlier about young designers, for example, and I wonder if a young designer, would they be able to afford that structure? And it kind of talks a little bit about some of the points that's on this agenda about creativity being looked at up or B, and maybe there needs to be a wider discussion around how we start to look at fashion more as a business as opposed to just our creativity.
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt. I think some kind of structure that will really help. Some guidelines.
Yeah, so one of the things that we did with the model agency, it took us a while to do because we had to get permission from the Competition Markets Authority. There wasn't necessarily a union at the time could take that role, was to look at that rate card structure that's based on turnover, so that there is, an understanding of what sort of a young model would get paid by an emerging designer, but equally what they would get paid by someone who is a more established business. And that's a great thing about having a union, because you can play that role in negotiating it, whereas the businesses can't.
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Caroline. We need to follow through in the same way.
Yeah.
And also speaking about protections, I think it's important to have somebody to be able to talk to, a place where you can go if, some of the issues that we've been speaking about, where people feel like there isn't anybody who they can talk to or anybody who they can tell. There is actually a space for that within FashionUK.
Yeah, absolutely. We have the representatives here, and then obviously in the wider Bectu, there is a whole team of people who can advise on employment law and all of those sorts of issues. And actually, one of the things that I know jumped out at me from the UK fashion report was about the challenge of late payments, which I think is a real
non-payments.
Late payments or non-payments, and we can help with that as well. We have a money's owed service which helps people try and get their money back. And obviously, as part of Make Work Pay, there's some legislation coming down the road around late payments and what to do about the challenge of late payments. So hopefully that is, again, something that the branch and we can support people to make sure they get their money.
I just want to add something else. I've been quite vocal about this on social media, and I have had quite a lot of negative comments from certain areas. And I think when people hear the word union, they get scared and think, oh God, Arthur Scargill. They just hear this sort of militant union word. And I think that's going to be a challenge to get that across. That it's here for everyone's benefit. It's here to create a fair playing field for everyone. It's going to benefit everyone. It will make it easier from the top down, because there will be an understanding
Yeah, and then you can plan for it.
Yes,
It's back to that ecosystem approach to make sure that young people are getting paid, those in the early stages of career, so that there is a clear pathway through. Otherwise, we're not going to have talent coming to your holiday club, are we, to want to get into the industry in the first place. So it's important.
You're right, though. I think, sadly, the press focus on, the difficult things about trade unions, the strikes, the fact that trains don't arrive or whatever. But what they fail to address is that, day in, day out, thousands of working people are helped by being part of the trade union every single day by representatives, by union officials. And it's a shame that, that we obviously need to work harder to get that story across about how much we help with individuals' problems at work every single day.
It's discussing it in a really positive, beneficial way.
And you made a really good point there about how effective trade unions are. There's another good quote here that I wanted to refer back to, which says, "I would love to see a strong union put together in the way that there is for workers in film." I wonder if you could talk a bit more about how it's kind of already successful or helping people work in that sector, and maybe some of the things that we could see applied to fashion specifically.
Yeah, so we have been working to build our presence in film, and we do have fairly strong membership in film, and we've got some collective agreements with PACT, which are the body that represents the employers around working time, working hours, rest breaks, all of those sorts of things, as well as the rate cards that I spoke about earlier. So quite a lot of our craft branches will have a rate card, which will help people decide what they should be charging. So, I'd like us to be even stronger in film, to be perfectly honest with you. But yes, we definitely have grown in terms of our influence and power in terms of supporting people to improve that industry, to try and address the scourge of long hours and some of the other challenges we've again talked about today, bullying and harassment and all of those sorts of things. So yes, it would be great to see such growth as well in FashionUK.
We are talking about growth in Bectu FashionUK and also thinking about the future. Anita, we had to go to you. I wondered if you had any thoughts or specific feelings about things that you think could help somebody like you who is still making their way in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of the onus for entry into the industry or support in the industry falls on community platforms. And I feel like community platforms like ours are doing a lot of work. We've got our mentoring program at South Asian to South Asian mentoring, like keeping on sort of our parents don't even know what we do for a living. So it's a very specific type of guidance. I think that like businesses that are the perpetrators of, like payment, like all of the stuff that we've been speaking about, harassment, like taking advantage of working hours, so on and so forth. I think the onus should be put on them, and I think there should be some kind of mandatory give back that they should be involved in, whether it's, like mentoring can be tricky within a business because if you don't feel safe within the business, it's not going to work, right? I think in the same way, kind of that you were talking about your models, what did you call it again, the model?
It's the British Fashion and Model Agency Association. So it's all those lead agencies, apart from some of the international ones that can't be part of a group like that, that have come together to really think about codes of conduct, best practice, also some of the mentoring around how you manage your finances, really.
Right. So you're sort of helping or you're guiding these institutions or these brands or these publications or whoever in the right way, and they're kind of listening to that. I think that there should be more of that. There should be more onus on this is how it should be done. Because the reality is that like you're going to send your invoice on time. You're going to like these unions are great, don't get me wrong, and everything that you've described is fantastic. But the problems start with the people that are creating the problem, and I think that there should just be way more done around that. I think it should be mandatory to have some kind of structure or some kind of I don't know what you'd call it, to guide those types of businesses on the right path. So it's better for everybody in the long run.
At the end of the day, collaboration across the industry is really important. Yeah, so the union has a really important role in that. But yes, I take some pride in the fact that Bectu is a very collaborative organisation. So we talk to all of our industries about how we can improve things, the sorts of things that we might be able to move forward in terms of supporting workers. So you're right, the responsibility doesn't solely sit with us, but we do need to make sure that we're working collaboratively and hopefully making progress.
Yeah, I think it starts with the union. Don't get me wrong. Like, I think mobilising is so important and demanding, like, basic respect. That's the first step, right?
I think, Caroline, I love what you said about the model agencies, and I would absolutely love to see that happen with the hair, makeup and styling agencies, because historically it hasn't really happened. I think that the people have tried to get some of this off the ground before, and it's not really because people are not working together. And I think if the model agencies can do it, then so can the other agencies. And I would love to see that happening. That's a dream.
I mean, you alluded to something really interesting there. Obviously, there have been instances before where we've tried to implement things within the industry. And, you were also speaking about people feeling fearful around the word union and scared about what that actually means. We all work in different parts of the industry. What do you think we can do, I guess, in our individual communities or, there's different sectors that we work in to get people to feel that we have power as a collective?
I think it's those words: collaborative, collective. It's about everyone working together to the same end. And I think this if we can get everyone working together instead of being so fragmented. We're in a fragmented world, but I think this is going to work really well if everyone is working as a collective. We're all in the same boat, and we need to make it better for each other.
I completely agree with Sam, because I think that's something that we're doing a lot at Holiday Club. We collaborate and partner with a lot of, whether it be hairstylists, makeup artists, whoever it is, but then also organisations like we partnered with ITV, we partnered with The Face last year, we worked with Days as well to offer journalism opportunities, and these are paid opportunities. So I think it works. I think, as we've all said, collaboration and partnership is like really key in making this change.
Yes, Philippa, I know there's a space currently within FashionUK for people to find community and kind of find information and resources and answers.
There is. There's a WhatsApp group that has over 600 members and is open to many more members. For people to be able to share what's going on and to hear about what FashionUK are up to. You don't have to be a member of the union to be part of that group, but you will hear about all the positive things that the union is doing. So hopefully people will be encouraged to join. And, it really is about building that collective voice that we've talked about today that is so important, so that people don't feel that they're on their own, that they have no one to speak to, that they have no support, and all of those things that make people feel isolated in the industry. So yes, I would really encourage people to join that WhatsApp group.
Nicky, I wanted to come to you. I really loved before you were sharing some of your personal experiences of working in the industry. Unfortunately, you mentioned some humiliation and specific bad incidents. I wondered if you had any specific solutions that you would like to see to help makeup artists like yourself.
I personally think that, for me personally, I think that there just needs to be a bit more awareness, a bit more deaf awareness, because a lot of people just don't understand what deaf awareness involves, because deaf culture is very different to the hairy world, which I've only discovered recently. But I think in order to make it, in order to move this a bit better, but too, when it came out and I started reading, I thought that's what we need a long time ago. It would have been so great had, younger Nicky will have someone to talk to and know that there's support, because it's really such an isolating industry that you just kind of think, who do I talk to? And all that kind of stuff. If I talk, would it go against me? Will people talk? It kind of sets you off on that spiral. And I think that for me personally, I just think that there just needs to be a bit more understanding, a bit more that we should all be able to collaborate, work together, because we can, we really can, if we get given the opportunity to do so. So there is an opportunity for everyone to all work together and make it stronger.
And that should be easy, because we are working as teams always. It's not a solitary business.
Exactly.
We're working with teams. So we need to work together in the same way that we go daily and work with a team.
Exactly. And then when you do, it's stronger when you all work together, and as Sam said, we do need to, grow and also for all of us to share the changes that needs to be made and all of those things. So, and also lots of collaboration, understanding and support as well.
As Sam alluded to before, obviously we've been painting maybe a bit of a dark picture about the industry. So to bring some rays of sunshine, a bit more brightness, I wondered if we could all kind of share things that are making us feel positive about still working in this industry and the change that we'd like to see.
We have the absolute pleasure of working with some of the best designers in this country and a whole new generation of designers coming through. And so the first thing is the inspiration that you get from working with incredible creatives and their output. But particularly, I think, just the new generation, they're challenging the industry in different ways, sustainability, representation. It feels like a very different industry today than it used to be. And I know there's a lot of hangover we've been talking about today that still needs to be fixed. But it's an amazing industry to be in, and it attracts a lot of young people to come into it. And we need to make it a really great, warm, inviting space for that next generation to be.
I'm just really excited about the future of South Asian creativity and the Diet Paratha community specifically. It's getting stronger, it's growing, the work is getting so much better. It really feels like over the last couple of years, we've really found our voice. And it just makes doing what I do so pleasurable and exciting.
Do you know what? I absolutely love seeing the amount of young talent that there is. They're the most fantastic young hair, makeup, styling. I mean, it's extraordinary. And I love seeing how they're all sort of embracing the different areas like fashion shows, red carpet, social media. There's a kind of mix of everything now that there wasn't before. It's all kind of mix it up with each other. And the talent out there is extraordinary. And we need to nurture that and look after it and value it.
I think very similar to what everyone else has said. I just love the opportunity to see fresh talent, the young talent, and people making dynamic changes in the market and having their voices heard, and also, like Caroline said, just challenging the industry in a way that hasn't been challenged before. I think it's exciting to see what's to come.
I think this industry is amazing. I mean, you meet such incredible people that you would never meet in different areas, in your normal daily life, shall we say. It's a different world, and it's a world where you could just be anything, do anything, and the creativity is just beyond. And seeing all the upcoming new generation and the way they work, the way they do things, it's just incredible. And it's just really quite exciting. Very.
I mean, hairdressing traditionally has been the place where you could look like or do whatever you wanted. And to see that flourishing across the whole thing is just, it's a very, 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 I'm very happy to see that.
Yeah.
And I think for me, the thing that is really exciting is this, FashionUK and our wonderful activists who are working really hard to put the branch together, to build the branch and to try to make a difference in the industry. I think that's really, a great thing to be happening. And their enthusiasm, their energy and their input into producing this report and all the other resources they're working on, I think is absolutely inspirational.
So, Philippa, the important information, if people want to know more about Bectu and FashionUK, where should they go?
So you can find us on Instagram at Bectu Fashion UK. And we're also launching our website today, BectuFashionUK.com. And people should also join the WhatsApp group.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much to all of my amazing panelists who've all been incredible, myself too, obviously. Thank you so much for listening. Obviously, this is just the beginning. We're hoping that the State of the Sector report is really going to bring some much needed change within the industry. And obviously, it all begins with you as well, the viewers at home. So please do visit BectuFashionUK.com to find out more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.